We absolutely have to talk about this movie that turns, I just want her to love me, I just want to be loved, into an absolute nightmare. Even after the movie ended, I sat there like that meme of that girl. Let's get into it. What if you could make the person that you desperately wanted, I mean, absolutely could not stop thinking about, dream about them, crave them type of vibes? What if you could make that person love you? And I'm not talking about like you like a little bit, think you kind of cute, little yang yang. I'm talking about love you more than anything in the world. Sounds like it could be a dream, right? Like, you know, what's that Cheap Trick song? I want you to want me. I need you to need me. Like, what if you could just, snap a finger, get that? Sounds like it would be a dream, right? Well, not in this film. Because Obsession takes one of the oldest, like, romantic fantasies in existence of, I wish the person that I loved would give me the reciprocity and love me back. This film turns it into one of the most uncomfortable, chaotic horror movies of the year. This was one of the most electrifying horror movies I've seen in years. Like, I felt this movie in my skin. It was that kind of horror movie, okay? Because I'm going to tell y'all right now, I got some hot takes when it comes to this movie, Obsession. Bear is not the victim at all. He isn't the victim of this movie at all. At least not in the way that you probably would think that he is. Because the scariest thing about Obsession isn't Nikki, it isn't the wish, it isn't who she ultimately turns into. It's the fact that Bear thinks he deserves her love in the first place. And that layer is where the movie gets really interesting. That entitlement that Bear has to her is what really made all of this super intriguing for me. Hey y'all, hey, it's Hey Media Moni, and this of course is powered by the Media Sip, your favorite place to be for all of your media tea, where we break down all things TV, movie, entertainment, and events. So we tell you what movies to watch and what moves to make. But today, we are getting deep into Obsession. Directed by an amazing indie director, which you can't call him indie anymore, baby, because this movie made like $488 million. Indie up out of here, okay? But directed by Curry Barker. And listen, y'all, this movie really had me stuck sitting there. I know about 20 minutes after it ended of, like it was just like, I was like stuck, like glitching, like, because it was so many revelations that were just like coming to my mind when it came to this character Bear and just the concept of entitlement and love and friendship and what that actually really truly means to people. Like, listen, babe, on the surface, this is a like supernatural horror movie. It has all of those elements. It has the blood and it has the guts. It has the creepiness. It has the jump scares and all of that. But underneath all of those like horror elements, this movie is about entitlement. It's about wanting someone so badly that you stop seeing them as a person and you strip them of their humanity altogether. You start seeing them as something you're supposed to possess and own. Woo. Yes, y'all. We getting into it today, honey. So listen, grab your drink, get your sippies, because we breaking this thing all the way down. And yes, I feel like I need to say this. Spoilers are coming. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. If you have not seen Obsession yet, you can stream it now on Peacock. So definitely go watch it and then come back because you are absolutely going to want to chat about this, okay? We have yaps, so you need to have watched this so we can yap. Because today we're getting into the ending of the movie. We're getting into the very wish that was the catalyst for the entire movie. We're getting into Nikki's transformation. We're absolutely getting into the One Wish Willow. And what I think the director, Curry Barker, is really saying with this movie. But listen, if you love movie reviews, breakdowns, TV reviews, conversations that really go deeper than like, oh, I thought it was good. Yeah, it was good. Or, oh, I didn't like it. You are absolutely in the right place. So make sure that you subscribe to this channel, like, comment, subscribe, interact with me. Let's definitely keep the vibes going, and hit that like button, that notification button, so you can stay tuned in to all the things that we do. All right, let's move on. So yeah, first up, this movie really isn't about Nikki at all. As much as she's one of the main characters, it's really not about her. So let's start with Bear. Bear is introduced as this awkward, socially, uncomfortable guy. Every little thing gives him the nervous jitters, and he doesn't know what to say to the pretty girl, and he doesn't know how to interact with her or with his friends, or, just like, he's very much like the nice, quiet, shy guy. He's that through and through, but he see, they show this one scene where no one else is paying attention to Nikki, but he notices that, Nikki takes money and gives it to like this unhoused guy, and he's just standing there gushing, looking at her. And I said all that to say, like, he's not introduced whatsoever as like this obvious monster. Not at all. That's part of what makes this movie so brilliantly done. He's not walking around being like a bro and, being like an incel type of guy, talking negatively about women. Like, we don't get any of that on the surface of Bear, this character Bear. What we see is he's awkward. He's nervous. He's insecure. He's unsure of him. He's very unsure of him. He's very unsure of himself. He's very lonely. And most importantly, they really zone in on the fact that he's a nice guy. That's what's so important. It's like, Bear is the nice guy. Because Obsession isn't really interested in the question of what if a dangerous man became obsessed with a woman? Because let's be honest, we've seen that movie. We've seen the bad guy who, is charming and attractive, but also like a jerk and a a-hole, and it's like his only real pizzazz that attracts people is like his attractiveness or like his wealth or his popularity. Like, we've seen that guy. We know that guy. That movie has been done. That's not what Obsession is. Instead, Obsession is asking, what happens when the ordinary, nice, shy guy convinces himself that his obsession with someone is actually love? And to me, that is way more terrifying than the dumb jerk, a-hole guy. It's so much scarier because it's so like insidious. Because Bear does not at all think that he's crossing a line. He does not at all see the true negative impact of what his perspective truly is. Bear doesn't think he's crossing a line. He don't see any of that. He really truly thinks like he's pursuing his soulmate to give her this love that she deserves and that he deserves. And, it's like he thinks that he's like the perfect match for her, but Nikki just hasn't realized what they could be yet. And that right there is where the movie starts to play with the idea of this romantic entitlement. Because Bear doesn't just like want Nikki. Because this is the gag. Very early in the movie, Nikki opens the door and says to him, like opens the door, theoretically, to give him the space. And straight out asks, which I'm like, real Nikki was very like straight up. She's like, do you like me? She gave him the opportunity. And, Bear being the shy, quiet guy was still like, oh, what? You're acting, what do you mean? And it's like, had he just had a little more confidence and actually, if he really truly loved her, he would have taken that as the moment. But that's the thing. Bear doesn't just want Nikki. He wants the outcome. He wants the relationship. Most importantly, he wants the validation. He wants the validation of having Nikki all to himself. And eventually, he removes her ability to say no. He removes Nikki's autonomy to her own body, mind, and emotion. That's real terror, baby. That's horror. But let's get into the supernatural side of this film, because the One Wish Willow, Curry Barker, the genius that you are. If you're familiar with the monkey paw, you immediately know where this is going. The basic premise is simple. You get what you wish for, but you don't get to control like what the wish actually means. You don't get to control how you get it, how it happens, the details of how it's going to play out once you have it. Like you genuinely just get the wish. You get it. Boom, bam, bow. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So Bear basically makes the wish of like, and again, I tell y'all all the time, words mean things. Bear's specific wish was, make Nikki love me more than anything else in the world. And listen, y'all, I'm sorry, but sir, immediately red flag for me. Red flag. Because Bear, you gotta listen to the things that aren't said. And you gotta pay attention to what words actually mean. Because Bear doesn't say, I wish Nikki and I have a healthy, loving, romantic relationship. He doesn't say, I wish Nikki would realize we belong together. He doesn't say, I wish I could find someone who loves me the way that I love them. No, Bear doesn't wish for a girlfriend. Because the truth is like, if you want love, you want companionship, you could have wished for that. You could have genuinely said, I wish for, whatever his preference, I wish for, a curvy, beautiful, brown-skinned, brown-eyed baddie. He could have wished for any of those things. And he could have said, and I want me and her to have a healthy, loving relationship. That's not what he said. Bear specifically wants Nikki. And he wants her love to be absolute. He wants her love to be unwavering, undeniable. And honestly, but he never mentions like Nikki's autonomy or her own emotions. And that right there alone, that's not love. That's not love. That's ownership and possession disguised as romance. And here's the thing. Bear got exactly what he wanted. And him getting exactly what he wanted is the point. Here's a little bit of my hot take, right? I actually think Bear's punishment is more interesting because he gets exactly what he asked for. Let's really think about that. This supernatural force doesn't technically betray him or like turn on him like you would think in most like horror movies, technically. Because it didn't ignore his wish. It didn't tell him like, sorry, we can't grant you that. We can't grant someone, we can't make someone love you. That's against free will, which we've seen in most movies where wishes can be granted. I mean, even in Bruce Almighty, Jim Carrey got the powers from God himself, and he still couldn't make Grace love him. Remember that scene where he's like, love me. And Grace is like, what? What are you doing? So in Obsession, though, we don't see that. We don't get that. This One Wish Willow gets him what he wanted. It gives him the exact thing he wished for. Nikki loves him completely, obsessively, desperately loves him, craves him, needs him. And that's the nightmare. Because Bear wanted unconditional love without understanding what unconditional love actually means. He wanted someone who would never leave him, never reject him, never prioritize anybody else, never have another desire that conflicted with his. And when he gets that very thing, he realizes that the thing he thought would make him happy has destroyed the very person that he wanted to receive all of this from. That's a classic monkey's paw storytelling. The punishment is not, you shouldn't have wished for that. The punishment is, you didn't understand exactly what you were wishing for. So now I got to show you better than I can tell you. Drop down in the comments. Did your mama used to say that to you? Or was that just my girl? Did your mama used to say, I'm going to show you better than I can tell you? Yeah, that's what's happening here. And now we got to absolutely talk about Nikki. Because I done read Bear for Filth, but we got to get into Nikki. The actress, and I hope I'm saying her name correctly, because the powerhouse that you are, my girl, Indy Neveretti, I'm not sure, but either way, girl, wow. Nikki is absolutely one of the reasons why this movie works the way that it does. Everyone has singled out her performance, and I completely understand why. Give that baby every award that she can get. Because, wow. At first, we see all these, because, we see these multiple versions of her throughout the film due to the storyline of the film. At first, she's just Nikki. We can tell she's a very independent woman. She's living her life. She got relationships. She got her interests. She wants to be a writer. Like, we get this background story of her. But the one thing that we can tell about Nikki is not Bear whatsoever. Bear is unsure of himself, where Nikki comes off very sure of herself, very sure of what she wants out of life. She's a passionate person. She has this lust for life. She's interesting. She doesn't mind being outspoken and saying what she like and what she don't like very self-assured. We see that. And then when the change happens, when she becomes completely consumed by Bear, this is what makes it so terrifying, because it's not just she loves him. She's pictures all over the place, writing their name in her notebook type of love. It's not that Nikki loves Bear. Nikki cannot emotionally or even mentally exist without Bear. And that distinction really, truly matters, because let's be honest, y'all. We got R&B songs about it. We've read poems even with it. And we've romanticized the ideology and the concept of obsession for years. Movies, songs, books, even on social media, I'm so upset. I'm obsessed with you. We say that. That's part of our verbal lexicon in how we describe when we are so enamored with something. Those are words we use. Again, words mean things, y'all. And we've been even sort of indoctrinated to think if they can't live without you, that's love. If they're jealous, if he gets jealous or she gets jealous, baby, that means they care. They don't want you. They want you all to themselves, honey. If they don't want nobody else to have you, if they say you're all mine, girl, that's love. That's what you want. You want somebody to, be 10 toes, not play about you. That's literally what we've been taught and programmed to romanticize this idea of obsession. But the film Obsession basically takes that entire romanticized fantasy and says, okay, well, let's make it very literal. Let's make it real. Let's make it really stick, baby. And then suddenly, boom, we are in the most toxic relationship of a toxic relation, toxicity of toxic that has ever toxically existed. Like, for real. And the truth of the matter is, as toxic as it all is, Nikki isn't the villain here. And I get it. This might be very controversial to some people, but I don't think Nikki is the villain whatsoever. She's absolutely terrifying. She's dangerous. She's doing very horrific, scary things. Absolutely. But that's why I love the supernatural element that this movie brings. Nikki's behavior is essentially being warped by this force that has essentially like kidnapped her entire emotional autonomy. It's not like, oh my God, Nikki is going crazy. It's like you're missing the point. That's the horror. That's the horror of when someone does not see your humanity and they simply want to possess you. Imagine having your emotions turned up from 0 to 1,000 and it's nothing, and it's completely beyond your control. Imagine every insecurity you felt in a relationship feeling so powerful to you that it damn near feels unbearable, like your body physically is about to break. Every moment of separation feeling like abandonment. They were sitting at the table. Bear picked up his phone. You could see Nikki's entire body just deflate because he picked up his phone, y'all. It's like every interaction with your partner and every interaction that you have with them is weight. It holds so much weight to the point that every interaction that your partner has with somebody else feels like betrayal. Every second without them feels like you are just seeping away. That's not romance, y'all. And that's not love. That is the highest height of toxicity and codependency and damn near psychological imprisonment. And Curry and the director, Curry Barker, zooms in on that. I mean, he's like, oh yeah, let's keep peeling them layers back. It's literally what he does for us in this movie. We do got to get into the gender politics of this film as well, because this is where, for me, Obsession gets even more uncomfortable, because the film is clearly engaging with the modern conversations that we're having on social media, in our friend groups, in the group chats, all the things about gender and dating, entitlement, and just like this social media culture. Because the crazy thing is, right before this film came out, a few months before that, there was this entire debate online for women of like, if you're in the woods, would you choose the man or the bear? It's like man versus bear. And it's like women are saying like, well, no, I'd actually choose the bear because, you know, at least I know what the bear is capable of. I know what the bear will do to me. And we're talking about a physical bear. Like in nature, in woods, okay? Women were saying, no, I would choose the bear because the bear is naturally, you know, meant to be menacing, scary, harmful. Whereas you can meet a man in the woods and think that he really actually wants to help you. And he would cause you, and could potentially cause you even more harm than the actual live animal would. So, and I thought that was and again, I don't know if the director and writer did this intentionally with naming the main character Bear, but I'm like, interesting, right? Some critics have described this film as incel horror. If you're not familiar with incels, that is involuntary celibate or celibacy. That's what incel stands for, which there is an entire subgenre of content and male podcasters who essentially are very hateful to women because of the, baby, that's a whole nother video. But yeah, some have have considered this film to be known as like an incel horror, while others have focused on its broader critique of possessive romance and toxic relationships. And I think that this movie is smart enough that you can read into all of that on multiple levels. Because here's the thing. On one level, a man wants a woman who doesn't want him back. Right? On another, a man uses a supernatural power to ensure that he completely eliminates any chances of her rejecting him. And then on the other, this film it requires you to ask whether someone can truly love you if their ability to choose you has been removed from them. That's the big question. Can love still be love if consent is not included in love? That was the biggest thing for me, that as much as Bear claimed to have loved Nikki and desired her and all of these things, he never once thought about her consent and what that looks like, of if this is something she would agree to or even want. And when she gave him the opportunity to even do that, he didn't. He instead forced her to do it. And what does that say about him as a person if the only way he was willing to be with her is if she would do it unwillingly? Can love still be love if consent isn't a part of it? Trigger warning, there is a scene in this film, an intimacy scene where you can see the different parts of Nikki fighting and feeling the emotion of what's happening. Bear is being intimate with her, but real Nikki that is trapped due to the spell of the wish is crying out, while the Nikki version of her that is a part of the wish has to still make him feel like she's enjoying it. That was probably one of the most jarring scenes for me to see in this film. Because yeah, there is no consent in that. And that's the most heartbreaking part about what Bear has done to her. She has no autonomy. She has no voice. It's what he wants and how she can serve him. Let's get back into Bear, though, because Bear's biggest mistake in all of this was that he never truly accepted Nikki's truth. She didn't owe him romance. She didn't owe him attraction. She didn't owe him a relationship because he was a nice coworker to her. Because let's really be honest about that. None of these people are real friends. Ian, who is the other like male main character in this, male protagonist in this film, he is not Bear's friend. Because as much as he knows that Bear is into Nikki, Ian was sleeping with Nikki behind Bear's back. They have another friend who's a woman that also works at the store with them, who is so beautiful. I loved her vibe. But she's secretly in love with Bear. So it's like, y'all, ain't none of y'all friends. None of y'all are real friends because no one's being honest with each other. No one's actually like holding each other accountable to be honest with each other. If I love you, you deserve honesty. Real love requires honesty. None of them were honest with each other. They were not real friends. Y'all was co-workers that would get drinks together but called each other friends. And then Ian and Nikki were, rolling around in the sheets having fun. They were not real friends. So that for me was a big part of Bear's just really where he really exposed himself. Because again, Nikki didn't owe him anything just because he was nice to her over the years. That woman did not owe you romance. She didn't owe you romantic love. She didn't owe you attraction. Just because you were nice to her and you've known her for years. Because that's the other thing. He didn't even know her. That's how you know he didn't love her. Bear didn't know anything about her beyond the surface things that you would know about your coworker. That's how I know they weren't friends for real. Nobody in this friend group was friends for real. He didn't even know the true relationship she had with her father. Like, what? I'm so in love with you, but I don't know the relationship you have with your parent? What? Like, please. But I think that's something that this movie is really hammering home. That was the really big message for me that I hope more people really understood. Is just like, just because you're a good person, you can still be wrong for someone. Just because you're the nice guy, good guy, that doesn't make you entitled to a woman. Just because, you're the good, caring friend who feels like you show up for everyone, you still aren't entitled to that person's autonomy. You're not. That's life. You can be a good person and still not be the right person for someone. That's just life. Sometimes someone won't choose you, and that's painful. But rejection is not to be viewed as an injustice. It's just rejection. And it's not even necessarily a rejection of you and who you are and how you look. Sometimes it's genuinely just like, we're not meant for each other. And the beauty is when people can accept that, it creates space for your actual person to enter your life. The person that is meant for you, that does accept you and loves you and all the things. But this is the thing. Bear couldn't accept that. He could not accept that rejection is not injustice. He was so quick to play this victim role, woe is me type of guy. And it's like, that's crazy, because that's not what this was at all. And him walking into that, Bear walking into that shop with the crystals and everything where he purchased the One Wish Willow, turns one of his biggest emotional flaws into making him an actual physical monster. Because you're a monster to me. Bear was a monster to me. Because the way that he completely removed Nikki's autonomy was unforgivable. And the thing about this movie is the creepy stuff isn't just there to scare you. It's really there to kind of make you go up in here, Let's talk about the horror of the film. Because Curry Barker doesn't just throw random scary stuff at you. It's not like surface level jump scares. She's behind you. It's none of that. Nope. This movie uses physical movement and behavior to communicate something is very emotionally wrong. The movements, the staring, the very unnatural reactions, the way that Nikki would get hysterical and immediately just be like, it's okay. It was unnerving when she would start screaming, screeching almost, and then just stop and say, it's fine. It's like, whoa. The walking backwards, and you could literally see her about to jump at him, but her body stops. It's just like, this is crazy. Okay. And I love that this film, the pacing of this film, because the long stretches of uncomfortable tension really keeps you on edge, because it's like, what the heck is about to happen? Why is she standing over there? She's literally just standing there. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff about this movie. It really takes you there. You know what I'm saying? And that's the stuff that's harder to pull off. We've seen a million jump scares, y'all. Come on now. We've seen it. Done it. Boom, bop, bam. We know. And a jump scare makes you react. But that discomfort, it makes you anticipate. So now you're waiting. Now you're on the edge of your seat. Now you're like, what's happening? Your shoulders are up. You're tense. You're like, what's going on? What is about to happen? That's how I felt this entire movie. You're looking at the corner of the screen, at this side, left side, right side. Like, damn, where's she at now? It's like, something ain't right. Something is not right here. Even like the simple moments, just the stares, the weird smiles. Like, it's like it all takes you there. And the other part that makes this movie so effective with its horror elements, I've seen everybody praise the acting performances, the directing, of course, I just said it, the psychological tension, the use of the lighting and shadows, because this movie was filmed beautifully. But I think everyone is overlooking the biggest reason that this movie, Obsession, is so effective. Obsession is so unnerving because of the soundtrack and the sound design. That accounts for about a good 80% of the horror to me, because of the balance that it creates. Let's think about this scene when Nikki is like suddenly calm after one of her like crazy moments, right? And she tells Bear so softly, like, I love you, Bear. And we hear like the little gentle music. And it makes you believe like, oh, okay, she's cool. That was just like a weird little moment. And then, like I said, in an instant, she pushes away. She's walking backwards. She's saying something like, it sounded like in reverse. I don't even know if that's what really happened. I'm like, not her on her Missy Elliott. Like, I'm like, what did she just say? Listen, Bear is screaming. His chest is heaving. He's like up against the thing. He's terrified, right? And the music is completely transforming and ascending this moment to make it even better. And make it something so ridiculously terrifying that you are legit like clenching. You clenching your booty cheeks. Your hands are balled up in fists like, what's happening? That, the sound design and the soundtrack is just amazing. And without it, I genuinely don't think it would have nearly the same impact. But because it does, it takes this film to an entirely different level. Because like I said, this movie is scary when nothing really is happening. And that's a good horror movie. The scary moments in Obsession, don't get me wrong, the violent ones are terrifying, because that brick on the steering wheel was like a whoa moment, because I still was like, I was stuck on that. But it's Nikki's behavior changes. It's ordinary situations like a kickback, a party, a house party at your homeboy's house, and Nikki snapping and going crazy. It's a conversation. It's a look. It's the bed. It's them in the bedroom. It's her in the hallway or in the bathroom. It's the silence. Everything is suspicious. It's like, that is what makes this movie so good. And the biggest thing in all of this is like, we know that in all of this, Bear is getting Nikki's attention, but this is not the version of Nikki that he wanted. And that's the irony of all of this. Like, so you did all this. You wished for her so bad. But you ended up getting a version of her that you literally could no longer recognize, because in Bear taking her autonomy, he took away the essence of her. And in all of this, y'all, what makes this movie even more exciting for me, y'all know I love indie films. I cover indie film festivals for this reason alone. Because we got to talk about Curry Barker. That's the director and the writer. Curry Barker reportedly only, it cost him around $750,000 to make this movie. Now, I know to us regular folks, $750,000 is a lot of money. When it comes to movie making, Hollywood productions, that is chump change, y'all. That's low budget, okay? But somehow this little indie horror movie became this major box office success because of just how good it is. And then Peacock reported that it crossed over $250 million domestically. While they're saying worldwide, it grossed almost 480 something million. And that is insane, but in the most beautiful way. Because in a world where they are constantly trying to rewrite how Hollywood is done and who can join and who can be the gatekeepers and all the things, Obsession is showing us that it is not about the budget. It is not about the studio backing. It is not about the main, actress and the high level cast members. It's not about none of that. It's about true, authentic IP. True, genuine, new, and fresh intellectual property. That is why this movie is doing so well. That is why this movie is worth paying attention to. It's not about, look how expensive my movie is. It shows filmmakers and film lovers that, look what I can do with an idea, an original idea. That's why this movie is so worth supporting. Yeah. So, in all of this, who is the real monster in this horror movie? Horror movies got to have a monster, right? Who's the monster? Who is the monster in Obsession? Is it the One Wish Willow and its supernatural forces? Is it Nikki, the physical monster that was going around going crazy? Is it Bear? Or is it the ideology that love means possession? I truly feel like it's the last one. Because at the end of the day, the One Wish Willow only works because Bear already has the flaw. Bear could have wished for anything. If Bear wasn't such an insecure, unsure of himself type of guy, he would have wished for a companion and not a possession. The wish doesn't create his obsession. It amplifies it. And that's a very important distinction. The horror in this movie isn't that Bear was a normal guy until, this magic wish that he made him kind of crazy and he made a mistake. No. The horror is Bear has convinced himself that he's a good person and he's a good guy and because of that, he doesn't do the actual work to be a better person. So he moves through life with this very unhealthy idea of love. And because of that, he then makes a choice to where magic removed the limitations and just fully unraveled and spiraled all of that just all the way downward to the pits of hell. Because the thing about it is, let's be honest, Bear isn't really he's not a good person. Look at how he treated his cat, his grandmother's cat. People that are bad to animals are not good people, and y'all know that. So let's talk about the ending, because this is where everything comes full circle. Let's talk about the ending. This is where everything comes full circle. Bear wanted Nikki to love him more than anything else. And eventually, he realizes the actual cost of what this means. He wanted to eliminate rejection, and he wanted control. He wanted to guarantee that Nikki could never leave and never leave him. He wanted the validation of Nikki being his possession. He wanted to guarantee that he had control over Nikki and her emotions. But that is the biggest thing about all of this, y'all. Love is valuable. because someone chooses you every day, despite everything they know, despite what the world tells them, despite all the things. What makes love such a beautiful journey and a beautiful emotion is the autonomy that is linked to it. To know that this person chose me because they desire me and they want me, and I fulfill them in a way that no other person can. So I am their choice. And they choose to do it over and over and over. And they do it freely, without coercion, without supernatural forces. Like, and that's what makes this movie so crazy. It's like, Bear didn't even give her the chance to possibly fall in love with him. And that's because possession removes that choice. And that's not what love is about. So in conclusion, Obsession for me was an absolute masterpiece. It gives you thought-provoking plot lines. It gives you amazing performances. It gives you twists and turns that were not predictable whatsoever. My biggest takeaway is that Obsession isn't really asking, like, what if someone loved you too much? I think it's more so asking, what if you got everything that you wanted and finally realized the flaw in it and that it's not what you wanted at all? And I also think that the bigger thing in that all is, like, it really challenges you to view your perception of love. Do you love someone, or do you love the idea of that person? Do you love this person, or do you love what the validation of having that person would mean for you? Do you love them and care about their well-being and what benefits them, or is this love only rooted in what you think this person can serve as for you? Like, what's the real root of the emotions? Now, I've been yapping about this, y'all, because again, I could yap about this movie forever and ever because it was just that good and that thought-provoking for me. But I absolutely want to hear from you. Y'all know around here we love to keep the conversation going. Tell me in the comments, was Bear a victim to you? Was he just a misunderstood guy who got it wrong? If you had the One Wish Willow, what would you wish for? And be honest. I really want to know. Because clearly wishing for somebody to love you is how you end up like Bear. Drop down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Give me your rating. Let's say, 1 through 5. If it's, 5 sips is this was a good strong drink. Give me another one. I loved it. 1 is this is weak. Not into it. Send it back to the bartender. Okay. Let me know if this is a sip or skip for you. Let me know your thoughts. If this review made you think, laugh, scream, question every relationship you ever had, question if you're Bear or if you would be Nikki, all of the things. Do me a favor, y'all. Drop down in the comments and let me know. And also, like this video, comment, subscribe. Let's keep the conversation going. I'm Media Moni. This is the Media Sip. Let's continue to watch, sip, and spill all the tea, baby. Take care of yourselves and each other. I'll see you in the next one.